2 days, or upright positions. And then in the intermediate training is when we start doing the inversions. Almost the entire sequencing 5 through 8 is inverted. So day 2, or day 3 for us is really great because people are like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is easy. I got this. And then we get into the intermediate training. They're like, oh my God, we're like upside down for like 4 hours. And it takes a little getting used to, but then they love it. And we have lots of variations, but almost all of 5 through 8 are inversions, which is really fun. So we'll have a gigantic chunk of it for tomorrow. So then we want to get into number 5, which is the grounding poses. So this is how can we incorporate not the swing, but just the handholds by themselves into a practice that allows people to get comfortable with being on the ground to take a break. Plus, it's not just regrounding, it feels amazing on the arms and shoulders and back. And these are like the low flyers. We have some high flyers, and these are the low flyers. And the low flyers is getting comfortable coming into a pike position. So we're not using acrobatic language yet. We do that in the advance. But when we get our feet up over our head, it's called a pike. Now, I want to teach you how to do a pike before you're fully suspended in the air. So that's how I teach people how to get into a pike position while they're low flying, which means they're this far off the ground. But even then, they're like, no, and they're like afraid and don't want to bring the legs up overhead. So I want to teach how to change planes of existence, or do like a full flip while on the ground before we get up and do it in the air. Yeah. So that's our practice.
We did it in the air last night.
No, not really. Almost. Well, the thing is both you and Adrian don't do acrobatics normally, so your body didn't naturally go into a pike, but just to show you.
I didn't do it right.
And that's okay. I mean, it's why the feet came down really quickly. So I'll just show you. So pike is when both legs come up over you like this, right? So it's the same position as on the ground, but if you don't do that, then you fall over. Remember when
Which is what I did.
Yeah, the first time. But most of the time, when you learn acrobatics, you go from here into a pike, and then you change the feet. But I wasn't going to get into that. We'll get into it when we start doing some of the acrobatic moves. Back over. But what I'm talking about, just to give you guys a little teaser, is when we get into last day, day 6. We're going to come up to our high flyers, which is wrapping our legs around and coming all the way up here. So from here we pike. So I'm fully suspended in the swing. Bring my legs up overhead. That's a pike. But obviously, I know, obviously, if you can't do it on the ground, you're going to have a harder time doing it in the air. But it's the same move, right? Mm-hmm. So if my legs aren't wrapped around, I'm on the ground. I kick my legs up overhead. Pike. So it's also called clearance.
Cool.
From on the ground, because you clear.
Right.
So yeah, so if you looked above restorative, you'll see it says clearance, number 6. That's when we learn how to do pikes. And we do it on the ground first, and then we do it in the air. So yeah, super fun. So the grounding poses help us get into Supta Virasana. Supta Virasana is when we're sitting on our shins, and then we lean back for those Dhroti yoga. Extremely difficult pose to do on the ground. I don't know how many of you guys practice yoga, but I've had knee surgeries, and like I said, I just don't do it anymore. This allows me to get into a camel and go back and practice doing some pull-ups and that kind of thing in a position that feels safe, and then relax into child. So I highly recommend getting into some of the grounded sequencing, and then just play with it too. Yesterday.
One question.
Yes.
I get what you mean by grounding, but where is that on your?
So we're in restorative.
Yep.
The last page.
Gotcha.
And it's number 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're only doing restorative today, so that last page, and we're almost finished. We're going to get into cocoon and the leg stretches. No problem. And so this is not part of the 1 through 4 sequencing. Yeah, it's its own special thing. Okay, what we did yesterday in class is from our hand positions. We got kind of playful with it, which, you know, you can kind of shift from side to side, do some spins and twists, get into some breakdancing moves, and just kind of play with it. So that's why, again, I call it aerial yoga play. So, you know, do the leg core strengthening stuff, all of that. If you want, I really recommend sticking to the sequencing, but also add your own creative flair when it feels really natural for you to add on to it. I want to give you guys that creative freedom. So, cocoon, we're just going to follow it in order. Number 6 is when we spread the swing out and we get in. Make sure you instruct them to get enough of a handful. Not too much, just right. Pull it down to the knees and then make sure there's enough to hold the head. A lot of people will have the swing, the back part of the swing, cutting off at the neck. It just doesn't feel good to have the head hanging out. We want to support the head so they're literally like rounding in like a cocoon. Okay, so typically you get the feet in. I call this expanded wings or butterfly wings with the legs. So the knees stay bent, feet are together, arms crossed over the chest. Okay? You can also move into child's pose from there and just roll up into a ball. So either the legs are open, hands over the chest, or a child's pose. This is a nice way to kind of like harness all the energy. And then from there, the twisting, it's like, the twist can be like the scissors twist, or you can actually hold on to the side of the foot and twist, but you're not going to go very far, right? Because you're in the swing. Happy baby, we all know happy baby. You can straighten out one leg and then the other leg. Okay, and then burrito are the legs up the swing. Yesterday we made a great transition to the floor to do our grounding poses, which I'll show you when we're trying to, because you can do burrito on the floor too. So from our, and I'll try to remember to walk us through it today. So from chillaxin, it's the only time you're going to release your anchor, your hook, and slide down. Make sure you make a smooth transition to the ground. So we can come into a shoulder stand and bridge position from here. And then we can straighten the legs and come into a burrito like this too. So this is another way to, the feet are engaged, but you can hook the ankles too. And let the feet relax. So that's another way to use the leg loops and come on down to the ground, is to transition if you wanted to do deep burrito. Again, if somebody doesn't like the swing motion, if that in any way gets them a little seasick. Make sure we have enough time. Yeah, we're good. About 5 more minutes. I can take the swing and I can lower it, right, with the different notches. I can lower it so they're almost on the ground, right? So some people really do get seasick, but I'll lower the swing so they're like literally almost on the ground. And then they can do all of their poses from here. And if I lowered it even more, their butt could be on the ground. Because you will find some people who just don't like the swinging motion. Until they get used to it, until their body starts to detoxify, they'll start to feel a little airsick. Okay? And then of course we did the version where the leg loops can come around. And you can do the version of Viparita from here, which is just awesome to feel fully supported. Either hooked at the ankles or you can spread it out. And people who come in with injuries, and I do yoga massage. I teach yoga massage in the second module, not this 20-hour training, but the next one. I teach you how to massage while people are in the swing like this, and they love it. It's a huge hit for those who want to incorporate massage into their yoga practice. Super fun. Very nice. So just a few more minutes to go over the leg stretches. So these leg stretches are the standing variations. Don't always do the leg stretches while standing because obviously people can jump around and have some difficulty with balance. We'll do the leg stretches, we'll go over the leg stretches in the intermediate practice tomorrow in the swing. But it's also really fun, just as an easy way to show people. These leg stretches are pretty standard in any aerial yoga class, so I don't really emphasize them in my personal workshops and everything. They're pretty basic, right? Just put your leg in and you stretch forward. But they are really fun as a restorative practice to stretch the legs and do some of the standing balancing poses without falling over. Okay. There's also a warrior 3 pose that I forgot to show you guys. So we're here, and I turn it over to come into Nataraj. And if we extend it with the leg loops, we can come into a warrior 3.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's the only one that I forgot to, so if you want to just pencil that in, wherever you are, just put a little dot there and then put warrior 3 after Nataraj. I'm always adding on, right, to the sequences, but remember to put the leg loops in the hands. Hold on to the leg loops with the hands. So when I write these down, what I notice, because obviously I make little, these are just shorthand. I'll be like, oh, how do I get to warrior 3 again from Nataraj? And then I put in parentheses, hold on to the leg loops with your hands, and then I'm like, oh, that's how you do it. Right? And then you can get the extension. But it's a nice way for people who, in yoga, they tend to like roll their eyes and like huff and puff when it comes to the standing poses, because balance is really hard for some people. And even how you said you could get into like a side tree. We do a side tree in the swing. They're really easy for the most part, but they don't really gain too much benefit if somebody is really tight and contracted in the pose. If it brings more stress than relief, then it's not really doing the job. So this allows people to get a little bit more comfortable with it. They have a lot of safety, a lot of things to hold on to, and that makes like a big difference as well. So that's the review for the restorative. Do you guys have any questions or anything that you want to chat about to finish up? We're going to have a 20-minute break before the workshop, which is always good to have a little bit more time to prepare for that. You're welcome to get into the swing and practice, or if you feel like assisting and you want to actually just walk around and help people and that kind of thing, that's fine too.
So I'm standing with one leg in the loop. There was the forward, another forward on the side. What was the backwards?
So, when I have the swing here, this is the side,
Yeah.
right? And then you could also call it revolver. Go backwards the other way.
And then one to Nataraj.
Yeah, well then after that, you have to turn the knee in and then do this.
So that's backwards.
So that one more time, Nataraj, warrior 3, you just...
Oh yeah, so from
Yeah,
Nataraj,
turn it around.
I balance, right? I switch to leg loops
Gotcha, and just go.
and I go forward. So this is a great pose, but then I can also
Yeah.
come out airplane wings. But this stretch here just feels really good.
I got a question on that stretch.
Why don't you try it?
I mean, is that femur parallel? Or, I mean, I see most people kind of turn a little bit.
No, it should be the femur's pointing down towards the ground. You can also arch in that pose for more what I call the dancer version,
Yeah.
or you can come into the plank version.